What is going on? This is Lack of Lepers, also known as SCP-CRNP, and tonight we are doing our nightly stream on Twitch, which is that I read the SCPs from yesterday. Now, you may be asking, didn't you just do this over the last hour and a half? And the answer is yes, but I'm doing it again. Why the hell am I doing it again? Well, because the audio didn't work. So technical difficulties, mortified, absolutely mortified. So we will actually do this again because I got to come through, man. I'm the hardest working man in containment fiction, if I do say so myself. So we're going to do a little bit of an abridged version. I guess there's some benefit to having walked through this one time. But here we go again. We fixed the issue, and my God, if you're out there and you hear like an echo or something like that, just let me know. My God, shame on you. Shame on you for not letting me know. So let's get right back into it where we were. I do want to once again welcome Brian to the show. Brian,
How are you tonight, sir?
you're not Brian. Where's Brian? What did you do with Brian?
Here I am.
Okay, hey, how's it going? So let's get going, and we will click this one right here and shoo-wop doobity boop. Okay, this looks good. So let's get back into it. We've done this once tonight, and we're doing it again. So let's start at the SCP-6918 and go there. You'll see that there are two articles that were posted to the SCP Wiki yesterday that have survived. So we will look at each of these. The first one we will look at more in depth. So this is SCP-6918. It is neutralized. I really enjoy the layout of this. I appreciate the large headers here. I think that looks good. And I appreciate the red. So let us get Brian to help us out. Let's go ahead and read SCP-6918.
Special Containment Procedures. As SCP-6918 was discovered post-neutralization, it does not require direct containment. While staff are advised to be on the lookout for similar events, no other occurrences of the precise phenomena of SCP-6918 have been discovered. Disinformation regarding the disappearance of Harley Warren is to be disseminated under standard cover story for persons of interest. St. Agnes's Outsider 1.
We got a footnote. Boy, this is a long footnote. So basically, St. Agnes's Outsider is code name for a type of general cover story for anomalous disappearances. Generally, St. Agnes's Outsiders are described as voluntarily going missing or otherwise running away, as this typically dissuades law enforcement from pursuing any immediate or serious investigation. Voluntarily going missing is not a crime in most countries. Well, that is very interesting. I appreciate that footnote. That did not know that. And what a very interesting literary device to make good use of here. One paragraph into the containment procedures. Brian, let's finish it.
Analysis of Warren's remains has not revealed any anomalous qualities. Though anomalous circumstances lead to Warren's death, the method by which Warren died was not anomalous. Autopsy did not find anything out of the ordinary for victims of non-anomalous drowning. As such, Harley's remains and belongings, Sans Journal, have been returned to Warren's family for burial. The precise location of Warren's burial site near Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, has been recorded for Foundation archives should need arise for disinterment and further analysis.
Interesting place, Kill Devil Hills. Very interesting. It's always funny when you see obscure cities showing up in SCP articles. Yeah, so this is already very interesting. I like the containment procedures quite a lot. I think this is written very well. The focus of the clinical tone is serious. This is really, really good clinical tone going on here. So it looks as though we have a character named Harley who has died. somehow in a non-anomalous way, but the circumstances of their death is anomalous. So, but that's really really great job with the containment procedures. Just a lot of information in just 2 paragraphs. We're given a little bit of foreshadowing. The victim will have drowned. That's obviously not a pleasant way to go. So we will see what happens. So let's get on to the description.
Description: SCP-6918 refers to a personal, reiterative temporal anomaly affecting Harley Warren between the dates of September 19, 1989, and February 22, 1990.
We put a pause here. We've got a footnote that is longer, and this is actually a paragraph or two. So this reiterative temporal anomaly is a temporal anomaly in which one or more individuals experience the same period of time repeatedly with changes only arising from their personal interactions. Individuals experiencing this can typically retain some awareness of previous iterations of the repeating time period. This is distinct from a localized reiterative temporal anomaly, or LRTA, as only a select few of individuals experiencing the repeating time period, as opposed to everyone contained within the affected area experiencing the anomaly. Technically, individuals who are not the subject of the PRTA are not actually present within the anomaly, and the subjects interact with a representation of said individuals. As such, individuals who are not the subject of the PRTA typically remain unaffected by events occurring within the anomaly. So this is entirely too long of a footnote. I just hate to say it. It's informative. It's also highly technical. A lot of abbreviations going on here. Hard to keep track of. The head really gets into a spin trying to read this. I think the main thing to notice is that this is a type of temporal anomaly where it's like Groundhog's Day, where you keep having the same thing happen to you every day, and you can interact with people, and that can vary, but the day doesn't, and other people aren't aware in the way that the person is who it is affecting. So yeah, I think we could shorten the footnote, honestly, but that's it. So let us pick up where we left off. Interesting anomaly going on.
The temporal anomaly is believed to have spontaneously ceased moments prior to or immediately following Warren's death, perhaps as a direct result of it. The precise nature of the anomaly is currently unknown. No other individuals with whom Warren had contact during the events described in his journal seem to have been affected by the anomaly. Further research is required to determine the cause of the anomaly. Research into other missing persons cases in the area has not yielded evidence of similar temporal phenomenon, but investigation into the matter is still ongoing.
Okay. Interesting that the time loop ceased shortly after following the death, perhaps as a direct result of it. And that's really interesting because apparently the person is not anomalous, but the event is. But now we see it kind of tied to their ontology in an interesting way. So this is a very complex anomaly. The author does a good job of writing that line between the individual not being anomalous, but kind of being anomalous. So good job. But it looks like they didn't understand this anomaly very well themselves, and who could be blamed. Most of their understanding comes from these journal entries, which we will see in Addendum 1. There are a lot of journal entries here, so I'm getting a little nervous. But let's take this and see what it has to say. So the first addendum, here we go.
Addendum 1, Journal Entries. The following entries are transcribed from a journal found on Harley Warren's corpse. Prolonged exposure to seawater has rendered almost all of the journal unreadable.
Yep.
Through use of the Sculptor Hypnos AI, several of the journal entries have been successfully reconstructed. As the precise cause of SCP-6918's activation remains unknown, lead researcher Dr. Yui has elected to include all successfully recreated entries yielded by Sculptor Hypnos regardless of perceived relevance, in the hopes that some information about SCP-6918's nature may be gleaned from them.
Okay, so that's why we have so many. So let's just start. This is entry 1, day 12 question mark. So I like this. So obviously we're caught in a temporal time loop, and already we have a glimpse into the psychology of this because the individual is not sure what day it is, which can happen if you've ever, let's say, not been employed for a while or off of your work for a while. The days really do blend together. You really have to work to keep up with the days. So let's go ahead and read this entry. This is technically a journal, so I think it'd be fun to get a different voice going in here. Let's welcome Russell. Russell from, is it Australia? Is that right?
How do you do?
Yes, it is Australia. Doing well. How are you doing?
Fine. You?
I'm okay. I am working through this stream, pretending like it's the first time I've read this article. Thank you for asking.
Why?
Because the audio didn't work the first time, so this is supposed to be a live reaction stream, and this is technically the second time I've read this article. So I guess that's your answer, Russell. Does that satisfy you? I guess so.
Why tell people that though?
Say again.
Why tell people that though?
I don't know. Just too honest. Not really. It just adds a layer of irony, I guess. I'll let the viewers be the judge of that. So let's get into these entries. This is day 12 question mark.
For future reference, I'm just guessing how many days it's been. I can't say I even know how many times it took me to realize what was happening. It's kind of terrifying to think that I could have repeated the same day countless times without realizing it. It's not like I haven't seen movies or TV shows where this happens. I always assumed I would have figured it out by the second or third iteration of the same day, but I guess I'm not as clever as I give myself credit for. Sure, everything seems the same, but going into the same job, doing the same work, having the same basic conversations in passing with people isn't really that far out of the ordinary, is it?
Yeah, so this introduces right away one of the really, really great points of this article. This is one of the reasons why I liked it so much. And what's happening here is a very, very large commentary on modern life. We live in a society, sort of stuff, but in a good way. Because what's happening is that the author is bringing out that, maybe our lives are so predictable, they're so rote, they're so mundane, that if we were stuck in a time loop, would we even know? Would you even know? So that's really, that's the sentence right there. It's kind of terrifying to think that I could have repeated the same day countless times without realizing it, which is something that we can carry with us into our daily lives. Who among us would actually notice? So there's already some very, very interesting herbs going on here, herbs and spices. So let's finish.
Honestly, the more terrifying thought is that this isn't a time loop. My life is just that boring, and I'm finally being driven insane by it and becoming paranoid.
Yeah.
Even my walks on the
That's
beach to clear my head don't really do as much as I thought. I've never really given enough self-reflection to notice the habits I've fallen into.
Phew. Wow.
My therapist suggested I keep
Wow.
the journal about this feeling. Obviously, she thinks it's just in my head. It probably is. At least this'll prove to me that I'm just imagining things, give me some private validation, or at least just let me vent.
Yeah, so this is an amazing sentence. I've never really given enough self-reflection to notice the habits I've fallen into. I mean, god damn. The fun part about this is that you have to be incredibly self-reflective to even come up with that sentence. So the author is, we can take it from this, a highly introspective, highly pensive person with a slight to moderate philosophical bent, actually slight to severe. And I love that the author justifies the journal, okay? Because the journal is just like amnestics. It is the easiest cheat code. It is typing the numbers into, typing the sequence of buttons into the controller, the video game controller. We see journals pop up for no good reason all the time, other than it's just a really convenient literary tool to stuff a bunch of exposition into the format. without a great amount of justification. So awesome that this is justified in universe by the therapist, keeping the journal, and of course, like I said, this is day 12, or so we think, maybe. This person has gotten a decent amount of familiarity with this incredibly strange experience. So just a wonderful way to set the stage, and just not a whole lot of words here, just a few short paragraphs, 4 of them. So yeah, great job. Let's keep going.
I've been keeping this journal in my pocket every time I go to bed at the end of the day, just to be certain. Yesterday, well, the previous today, I guess, I wanted to test something. I wrote out an entry in a separate journal and left that on my bedside table. It was gone when I woke up. I have to keep this journal on me, otherwise I fear I'll lose all record of what's happening. The thought of that is kind of horrifying, to be honest. This feels like my only tether to reality, in a way. If I don't have this to reassure myself it's real, I'll probably go back to thinking I'm just insane and paranoid.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of objectivity anchoring you into the real world, I'm sure, in this situation.
Well, no, maybe I wouldn't go crazy without it. Honestly, I'd probably go back to thinking everything was normal for a few days, then come back around to realizing I'm in this loop. I can't say it feels like a waking nightmare being in this loop or anything. It feels fairly normal, really.
And that's the
I've lived the same day countless times before I got...
That's the terrifying part. That's the meta. That's the meta commentary. It feels normal. Being in a time loop, everything is fucked up.
I've lived the same day countless times before I got stuck in this loop. I've let myself slip into routines, spending every day the same as the last one.
Good.
I guess I'm only really aware of that in hindsight because I'm living the exact same day over and over.
I'm telling you, this gets better with every read, so...
I've kind of been letting my life slip past me, haven't I? I'm 34 now. I have to take a moment to remember that. I've stopped paying attention to the years rushing past me. Sure, I've reflected a few times on all of my friends getting married and having kids, but it's not like I've ever wanted that for myself. I don't think I'd be that great of a parent. I'm too short-tempered. I don't think I could deal with all the screaming and crying. After hearing all my friends talk about not getting sleep for months on end and seeing just how chaotic their lives are, I can't say the idea of having a kid ever really appealed to me.
Yep. Good insight. I have 2, and it's the hardest thing that I've done, and the most rewarding, but that's not for everybody, and thank God we have people who don't have kids.
This is kind of making me rethink that. Waking up to have everything the same as when I went to bed isn't really new. That's how my life always was. If I don't change something, it won't be different, at least in my apartment. Maybe I should get a dog once life is back to normal. It'd bring some kind of variance into my day. Less difficult than having a kid, but it would keep things from being the same every day.
Yeah, dogs are great training wheels for kids. This is a great sentence. This is another one of those defining sentences, I think, for the article. It brings some kind of variance into my day. So yeah, that's true, by the way, with a kid, my God. But yeah, this is once again a larger commentary on really something that's not really even that unique to our society, our time. It's just sitting into a routine and letting yourself sort of rest on whatever laurels you happen to have at that moment. And there's something to be said for making yourself uncomfortable. And for this individual, it's a shame that it had to come to a time loop in order to get them to appreciate that. All right, so this next entry is day 18. We've gone from day 12, day 15, day 18. Let's see what is going on here. Russell.
I've managed to convince my therapist I'm not crazy. Sure, I'll have to do it every single time I see her, but it's nice to have someone to confide in. Her middle name is Gloria, and when she was in high school, she'd bring a metal water bottle with milk in it during tests because it felt soothing to her. That's the information she gave me yesterday. It still feels wrong to call it, like, the previous today or stuff like that, to convince her. Did she have that planned? Has she had to use that code information before or something? Maybe she just made it up on the spot. Maybe she's just trying to reassure me. Then again, it's not like lying to me would make her a good therapist. Would it?
Eh,
Is it better for her to try and help me feel accepted or to not feed into what she might think are delusions?
that's a great question.
Maybe I should look
Wow.
up stuff about therapy tomorrow so I can figure out if she's being honest with me.
This is just really thoughtful stuff. This is somebody who's paying attention to their surroundings in daily life. It was Raoul Vanagem, one of my favorite authors, who said there's more truths in the 24 hours of a given person's lived experience than there is in all of the philosophies. And this is that sort of person who's just paying attention to stuff that's going on around them. This is an incredibly deep question. um, is it better for her to try to help me feel accepted or to not feed into what? Wow, the profession of therapy. Wow. I want to also point out that we have the word milk, so milk tag for the win. Let's finish this up.
Even if she doesn't actually believe me, there's not really anything bad that'll happen if I tell her whatever crazy things I'm thinking.
Yeah,
It's not like she'll remember them next I see her.
funny.
I just came to the realization I can use my therapist for therapy, didn't I? God, I'm such a moron sometimes.
Oh, it's like leapfrogging your own intelligence into stupidity again. You get so smart that you get to a point where it becomes cyclical, and you're kind of a dumbass, but only because you're so smart. And another way to say that is that the smarter you are, the dumber you can be. Right? A dumb thing is only mundanely dumb, whereas an intellect is exceptionally dumb. So, but once again, this is just continuing a very, very. I would. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but a masterful pacing of thought going on here, and just a very, very deep, um, philosophically bent interpretation of what's happening. I think we're really setting the stage by this point for a real psychological thriller. And I just kudos to the author. Just really, really good job painting the scene here. Is there anything else in there? Oh yeah, really strange. You kind of at this point right here, there's not really anything bad that'll happen if I tell her whatever crazy things I'm thinking. This is kind of like Groundhog Day, where you kind of get over the initial shock and you start to realize that you can kind of have fun with this. Maybe even, I mean, heck, might as well. Let's go move on to the next entry.
I keep thinking about dogs, ever since offhandedly mentioning one a few days ago. I can't really go about adopting one. If it requires some kind of background check or anything that keeps it from being a single day process,
Not a
there'd be
single
no
day
way for me
process.
to even get a dog until I'm out of this loop. Even if I did, it would probably just be in the pound again as soon as I woke up the next
Phew.
morning.
Wow.
But there's a bit of a solution I've found. See, adopting a dog from the pound might be out of the question, but that doesn't mean I can't go look at them. I can spend time with each dog up for adoption until I find the one that's perfect. Even if it won't remember me when I'm out of this loop,
That's
it's
funny.
not like it'll be that different.
Hmm.
Dogs just kind of love people innately, right?
Yep.
So I don't think it'll be difficult for the dog to get just as attached to me as I'll be to it.
That is very interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Huh. Okay, so maybe this person will adopt a dog. Say it like I don't already know what's going to happen.
Thinking about it is kind of exciting. I'll definitely take it with me on my evening beach walks. I bet it'll love that. I don't know if it'll want to go in the water, but it's not like I do either. We can just stare out at the sea together. That'll be good enough. Hell, a dog would probably be a better swimmer than me. Dogs kind of seem to innately know how to swim, but people need to be taught. I guess learning how to swim is another thing I could do while I'm stuck in this loop. I can find a pool to practice in. If I make a fool of myself and need to be rescued by the lifeguard,
Haha.
nobody will know it happened when I wake up the next morning. It's kind of reassuring to know I can't embarrass myself that badly while I'm stuck in this loop.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, your embarrassment can only extend for a maximum of 23 hours and 59 minutes, I suppose. Yeah, this is once again, this is another great example of this individual, this author, really paying attention and asking very, very thoughtful questions. Dogs do seem to kind of know how to swim. It's almost like the extra intelligence demands that you be untaught, and simpler creatures don't have that impediment to activity. Okay, so this is day 23.
I tried out what my therapist suggested yesterday. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but I guess it would be kind of hard for the pound employees to give every dog the exercise they need. Sure enough, they seemed pretty happy to let me take one of the dogs for a walk. The dog I walked today was named Gus. He's a former racing greyhound. He's pretty shy, but he seems like a sweetheart. He seemed to hate having sand between his paws, though. As soon as we set foot on the beach, he started picking up his feet way more when he walked, like he was trying to keep them from touching the sand as much as possible. At least he didn't really stop me from holding his paws to clean them off. There's something comforting about being at the beach with a dog. I'm kind of alone right now, since nobody else seems to know about the loop besides me, at
Yep.
least not as far as I know.
Yep.
Looking out into the ocean, though, hearing the waves lapping at the shore, seeing Gus's tail wagging away, I think it's going to be alright. We'll make it through this together.
Don't you love dogs? We don't deserve them, that's for sure. I would be surprised if this person doesn't have a dog. Let me say that again. I wouldn't be surprised because the individual seems to be highly in tune with observations about the world. So maybe they could infer some things even without having a dog. But I would guess the person who wrote this has a dog, just because these are things that um, the sort of intimacy you can only get from experience. Okay, so we're back at day 38 question mark. A number of days have passed, 15 ish, maybe. So very interesting. We're getting pretty deep into the loop psychologically.
I let myself slip into a routine, taking Gus out for a walk on the beach in the evenings. I forgot to write in my journal a few times because of it, since I normally wrote my entries while I was at the beach. I hope my estimate of how many days passed is accurate. I don't really have a way of checking. I have to remember to write something each day before I go to bed, even if it's just a single sentence. I don't have any other way of marking the days if I don't.
Well, this is also really, really good writing advice, by the way. Just write something every day. Doesn't matter what it is.
Still does his funny little high step when we first reach the sand, so I can tell he's not getting any more used to it. Still, he can't really show confusion when I act familiar towards him. He's just as happy to see me every time. Maybe it's a greyhound thing, maybe it's because he's stuck in a pretty small pen, I don't know.
That's funny.
Whatever the reason, when I ask him if he wants to go for a walk, he starts spinning in circles as fast as he can. It's honestly hilarious, super endearing too. I've done this pretty much every time I've seen him, but I haven't gotten tired of it.
Okay, so it seems like this dog might be special in some ways. For the same reason that you don't have to teach a dog how to swim. Perhaps the dog is more of a companion than just a mental parallel. Because what's interesting about the use of the dog as a character so far is that it's obviously paralleling the main character. You know, being in a cage, really having your life minimized in terms of its variability into a state where it's indifferentiable experientially from being stuck in a time loop, which is very similar to what a dog must experience in a pound. So, in addition to using it as this interesting way to amplify the psychology of the main character, we also have it sort of enriching it as well, because who doesn't love having a dog around? As it says here, we're about to read, we're both going through stress. But also, and I assume we will become somewhat emotionally attached to this dog, which is really the wind up of the emotional gut punch of this article, because as we will remember from the description so long ago at this point, that this individual dies by drowning somehow, whether suicide or not. Let's finish this up.
I said I'd try spending time with different dogs to find the right one, but I kind of fell in love with Gus right away, didn't I? I've taken him for a walk every time. He's really calm, maybe just because he's shy, but it makes him seem that much more comforting for me. There's a feeling of kinship, at least on my end. We're both going through stress. Hell, I bet he feels just as stuck in routine as I do. Every day in the pound is the same for him.
Yep.
Once I'm free from
Exactly.
whatever's going on, I'll adopt him.
That's great. That's great, man. You know, life can be measured in good dogs. You know, eras defined really by good dogs. Let's go to the next one.
I keep talking about what I'll do when I'm free from whatever's going on, but I've only recently started to realize I have no idea if I'll ever get free at all. I don't know why this started, after all. It's not like I can do anything to figure it out, since nobody else even knows this is happening. Even if I lash out and yell at or hit someone at work, nothing comes from it. I get written up, sure, but nobody remembers it the next morning when I come in. The previous version of the day never happened for them, after all. In every movie or story I've seen about this sort of thing,
Groundhog
there's
Day.
some kind of inciting incident for it all, isn't there? Someone has been making some kind of mistake they need to rectify for their life to return to normal. I've thought about it for a while, but I can't figure out anything of the sort here. My life is just too boring for that. I don't have any huge mistakes to fix or relationships to repair. Everything is just average. My parents are fine. We've got a good relationship. I don't have any particular friendships with my coworkers, but they're all as disinterested in me as I've been in them. I think they forget about me the second they're off work, really. Besides the time loop making them forget, I mean. It's not like I haven't tried probing them to see if there might be something I hadn't picked up on.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing underlying in my relationships with my coworkers that I hadn't noticed before. People are only confused when I show interest in getting to know them or spending time outside of work. I've tried everyone I interact with at work, and none of them seem to regard me as anything more than someone they pass by every day. Then again, that's kind of how I always thought of them, isn't it? I hope I figure something out soon.
Yeah, so we're getting more and more insightful about the situation and the sociological, as psychosociological ramifications of being stuck in a time loop like this, and what it means about recoloring and revitalizing the relationships or how you see them of other people. So I think we're about halfway through the entries here, and it's interesting to note a quickening here. So we've been having some sparsity through the days, the 15-day jump here. And then we went from day 38 question mark to day 122. Part of that is the guy really enjoying his dog, which is great to see. And he starts again. And so the next entry is, let's call it 20 days later. But after that, we see a quickening. We see 141, 142, 143 twice in one day, actually. And then another quickening down here. So there's already some pacing baked into this. And I think that is well done, a good sign.
I've let a few weeks go by without bringing Gus to the beach with me. I think that might be part of why I've been feeling more and more down about this whole loop business. Maybe it's because I've been feeling more down that I haven't bothered to bring him with me. I don't really feel like reflecting on things right now. I've been forgetting to even bother writing entries lately, and I can't bring myself to write more. I guess I'll just leave things off here. Maybe bringing Gus to the beach tomorrow will help me gather the energy to really think about what's going on.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're taking a psychological turn here in the narrative. Gus, the dog, has helped, but obviously the companionship of a dog that may or may not be transcendent to the anomaly in the same way the character is, isn't probably going to suffice. Isn't probably going to take absolve the entirety of the psychological crash fire that surely this main character is dealing with. So let's go to entry 111, day 142.
I wish I hadn't brought Gus with me. For whatever reason, he bolted as soon as we were on the beach.
Really?
He's never reacted that way before.
Odd.
He completely tore the leash out of my hand and ran off into the waves. I couldn't really go after him even if I wanted to. I'd probably drown if I tried to swim out into the ocean at all, even when the waves are more tame. I lost sight of him, and no matter how loud I called, I couldn't get him to come back. I stayed until the sunset, but he never showed back up. I couldn't find paw prints in the sand anywhere. He just vanished. It's well past midnight. I don't know if I've already looped back into the same day or not. I've tried to sleep, but I'm just worried sick about him. I have a sinking feeling that letting myself stay up all night might break the loop, and Gus will really just be gone. It's not like I haven't tried pulling an all-nighter before. It never worked. I always fell asleep at some point and woke up with my alarm the same morning. What if this is the one time it's different?
It's like Groundhog Day, quite a lot. I wonder if the author knows about Groundhog Day. I think I'm dating myself, but certainly is reminding me of that. Wow. So this is really interesting. I think this is certainly the most important of the entries that we've seen so far. Really jarring in the patterning that we've seen so far. So what's really odd about this is that the anomaly is such that nothing really is supposed to vary between repetitions besides what the individual, the protagonist here, is doing to affect other things. And to cause different reactions. So if you just picked the dog up and took it to the beach like you have, God knows, 100 times by now, what is so different to make the dog run in the way that it hasn't? So this is a little more of showing without telling that the dog might be something a little special. Maybe the dog is, if the dog is not reset every day like the human is, like the protagonist is, maybe that's what we're seeing with the dog react in this way. But this is very sad. Vanished. And so this is a little twist on what I was anticipating when I was first reading this, thinking that the protagonist would die, as we know that the protagonist does, and then the heartstrings be tugged because the dog is left behind. But instead, that is the opposite, and that's interesting to me. And refreshing. I like to see that the dog actually left, and now we're left with the added, almost amplified existential torment from that. Okay, let's move right along here to the next day, a shorter entry.
I must have dozed off at some point. I don't know when. It was definitely some time after 5 a.m. I remember still being awake then. Considering my alarm goes off at 6:30, I probably didn't get much sleep at all. I don't really feel like it, though. I feel just as well rested today as I have any other morning. It's 8 a.m. now. I'm going to be late for work, but I don't care. It won't matter. I need to go to the shelter and see Gus first.
Yo, bro, you've been going to work for 143 loop days? I would be out of. I wouldn't go to work. I mean, it's the same situation as the therapist. It's not going to matter if you don't go to work. Why are you still going to work? Fuck. Must really like his job. Wonder what it is. So this is interesting. Same day, just the evening. So he went to the shelter to go see Gus.
Gus wasn't there.
Ooh.
They don't have any record of him ever having been at the shelter.
Fuck me.
The people working there looked at me like I was crazy when I asked about him.
That's fucked
They
up.
say they've never had a racing greyhound in their care. This is the only time anything has been different in these loops.
Wow.
Why isn't he there?
Huh.
What did I do wrong? Did something happen to him? I mean, I guess I know what probably happened, but I don't want to write it. I feel like putting it into words will make the possibility all that more real. I can't accept that it could be the case. I guess there's a way to test it, but do I have the heart to do it?
Well, this is a good thing when you have to go back and correct your own thoughts. I think this is the most important journal entry. It's good when each subsequent journal entry gets more important. So it's confirmed. The dog is an anomaly within an anomaly. It's a second order anomaly. It had more in common with this non-anomalous Harley protagonist than maybe was let on. Wow, what a deep psychological study! What a deep pretzel of psychology we're reading here. So this is a very interesting. Let's collapse that for a second. This is a very interesting cliffhanger. The author knows very well how to and where exactly to cliffhang. So you're left with this vague feeling of, okay, what the hell is this person talking about? What could they possibly be thinking of doing here? We don't like the vibe of it, so let's see what it is. Moving on to the next entry.
I let myself run over a squirrel this morning on the way to work. I figured it would be a good test to figure out if something gets removed from the loop when they die. In retrospect, it was an awful thing to do. I killed a squirrel for no reason.
Yeah.
I know it's dead. I saw the vultures hanging out by it when I was driving home this evening. I couldn't see the body, but it was in the exact spot where I ran over the squirrel. It's just not likely enough that some other animal would have died in the same spot.
It's the same
I
squirrel,
haven't
buddy.
seen any other roadkill pop up, except the deer I pass on the highway every morning. That one is always there, so it had to have been the one I hit.
See, what the real good. Damn, this is good. This is almost maddening how good this is, because what's really special about this is it's very clear the individual who wrote this has sat down and lived in this space for a little bit, because you wouldn't really include a detail like this deer that you pass every morning as roadkill, without really sitting down with this concept and sort of in a meditative state, immersing yourself into it, which I think is so important for containment fiction, which is the name that I give, not I give, but that we give to this genre, containment fiction. Just a really good, really good sense of immersion here. It's these fine details, like anything that is artisanal and fine. It's these details, and then this is just kind of crazy. The person is starting to devolve psychologically, intentionally running over a squirrel just to see if it would die. So we're starting to see some mentally unhinged behavior.
I would rather an animal die to test this than a person, but
for
I
sure.
have no way of knowing if that particular squirrel disappears or not. There's only one place I know of where I can test to see if a specific animal shows back up after it dies. It would be so easy. If it works, nobody will know it happened. Nobody will know whatever dog I pick ever existed.
Ooh.
If it doesn't work, the dog will still be there,
Ooh.
and nobody will remember I did that the previous loop.
Ooh.
The dogs are just going to be put down anyway so the
No.
pound doesn't get overcrowded.
No.
I feel awful just for writing this.
Right.
I don't think I could bring myself to hurt an animal intentionally.
Wow.
I think I'm going to stop writing here. I don't want to keep giving voice to these kinds of thoughts.
Wow, what beautiful language. This person is almost a poet giving voice to these kinds of thoughts. What a well constructed phrase there, poetically. Wow. This is getting real dark real quick. God. And it's funny, they're like, oh, I don't know if I could bring myself to hurt an animal, but you just ran over a squirrel. So I'm just kidding, bro. So that's what they were talking about. There's the other foot dropping from this little cliffhanging tease here. Wow. I would hate to think these things. You got to sympathize with the protagonist here, because it's like, okay, so logically, that's like a reality, but your soul side of you won't let you think it. Wow, powerful stuff. Let's get into the last 3 entries of the journal, and this is interesting because once again, there's a quickening happening here. Here we go.
I tried going to the pound again today. Not for anything nefarious. I just wanted to try walking a different dog to get my mind off of things. I didn't end up taking a dog out. I felt horrible just being in there. The people there might not know me, but I feel like the dogs do. The way they looked at me was so sad. It's like they're mourning. Or maybe they know I thought about hurting them. I couldn't do it. I wasn't there to hurt them, but I couldn't bring myself to even take one for a walk. I'm too worried those thoughts of hurting them will come back. I keep hoping I'll see paw prints on the beach. I keep hoping Gus will show back up. He hasn't, but I feel like I'm less alone when I'm here. If nothing else, I can remember the nicer walks Gus and I had. Maybe he's the one I feel watching me.
Yeah, this is a great line too. Or maybe they know I thought about hurting them. This person, that's why I would be surprised if they don't have a dog. Dogs just know. If you're a good person or not. We don't deserve them. They're excellent characters, and they're excellent judges of characters. Just a little factoid for anyone who's interested in music history, like pop history. One of the most popular singles and pop songs of all time, Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. I'm drinking wine, yes, but I'm not going to sing yet. That is a funny story. The composer of that song, the writer of that song, was writing and remembering a very early childhood memory where at 3 years old or so, this person asked their mother why dogs bark at some people and not others, and the answer was good vibrations. So that's fun. Let's move on to the second to last entry. This is starting to get torturous.
I couldn't even bring myself to walk past the doors of the pound today. Just thinking about it made me feel sick. I didn't go to the
By the way, have you ever done something like that? I think we all probably have, where it's like, why am I here? Maybe you were buying weed, and you're like, or whatever, and you're like, God, I just fucking hate being here. Something's just this sick feeling in your stomach.
I didn't go to the therapy appointment either. It's been a while since I did, honestly.
Is it gonna help
I don't want to talk about these thoughts I've been having.
Ugh.
I know she won't remember, but just thinking about discussing it makes me want to curl up and wait for the day to be over. I don't think I have it in me to hurt a living thing on purpose, even to figure out if it'll free them, or me, from this loop.
Fuck that squirrel.
Since having just thought about me fills me with so much guilt, I can only imagine how I'd feel just trying to do it, let alone actually going through with it.
Yeah. That poor squirrel. Okay, so this is the very last entry. Yeah, I would say that every single entry is necessary. There's not an entry that can be taken out. So this is length is. Did you hear me? Length is a difficult thing to justify. You should take out every single thing that you possibly can, and then appreciate what is left, and see what you can do with it. If it's really that bad, you'll put it back in what you took out. But every entry here has purpose. No entry you could, I think, say that we could remove it and the whole still be what it is as a synergy greater than its parts. So this has been an emotional roller coaster. We all know how it ends, right? That's the brilliance, I think, structurally of this article. So now we just have to figure out how, which is a much more interesting question than what. We've already been given the what. And we also, the question of why and how are so intertwined. They're more than twins. They're almost conjoined twins. So let's go to the final entry, which is quite short, and see how this ends.
I might not be able to hurt another living thing on purpose to test my theory, but there is one thing I think I could hurt without feeling bad.
Ooh.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Oh,
I'll rent a
no.
fishing boat to take out into the ocean. I'll see if I can't find Gus out there.
Wow.
I think he wants me to come out into the open sea. I think that's what he was trying to tell me.
Wow. That's how it ends. Shit. Wow. I mean, it's just beautiful. The author gives you just enough, to get you there, doesn't hold your hand through it. Requires you to recall the setting of the stage to fill in the rest of the context. I mean, wow. Just what a powerful way to end that. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic article. I think at what it's been up for like 24 hours, at plus 15, that is woefully inadequate. This article is way better than 15 to 24 hours. Sometimes these things get justice with time. I think most often they don't. That's why the rating module, fuck it. This is a perfect example of how it fails. This article is way better than its rating. I mean, way better. It's not even close. Let's take a look at the comments and see who the author is. It is Agisuru Suru, who I don't know. This is a new author for me, and I am pleasantly introduced to them by this article. Huge thanks to the critters. I was super anxious to get this up, but I'm proud of how it turned out. You should be proud of how this turned out. This is an excellent, highly above average article. It's so good that it's on that latter end of the bell curve, where it's way advanced, but it's not getting the quantitative love, i.e. upvotes. That's where you are. So congratulations. You should be very, very proud of this. This is excellent. Time loops. Yeah. So once again, another excellent thing about this. Sorry, did I just whistle through my teeth? Wow. One really impressive thing about this is that it utilizes a time loop, and it does so successfully. Time loops are very, very difficult and tricky and hairy and sticky. And it's very rare that an author, even really, really good authors, Malice Afterthought, one of my favorite SCP authors who I don't think is active anymore, Malice Afterthought, used to play around with temporal anomalies quite a lot, and even that author, who's incredibly talented, like I said, one of my favorites, had a hard time, getting through it without tying themselves conceptually or narratively into a pretzel, to a compositional pretzel. So this author and article does a fantastic job of the highly volatile, highly explosive, highly unstable radioactive material of time loops. So I agree. The first part where they didn't know about the time loop struck a bit of a chord with me. Yeah. Yeah. This article is so good on so many levels. A really, really good article will be more than just its content. It'll also carry with you into the day, and certainly this article does that. This person still loves it. They credit it, I think. The dog is a little angel. Yeah. Yeah. So this is people like this article. It just doesn't have a lot of eyes on it. The SCP really is a marketing game these days. So to the author, if I don't know how new you are to this, but please, please, please do not read into this rating. Your article is way superior than plus 15 at 24 hours. But the bottom line is that it stayed on the site. It made it. That's really all that counts. That's really all that matters. Your metric for success shouldn't be the rating. It should be whether or not it got on the site, because this is going to be on the site, from now on, and it'll be there for anybody like me, I guess, to come back and look at and say, "Wow, what a good article." You have a chance to be appreciated in the future, if not now. So, excellent, excellent article. Moving on, the second one is SCP-6409. Let's get that going. Okay, we're once again doing this way later than we normally would. All right, so this is SCP-6409. Thank God that the author is not listed, so I don't have to do a full disclosure on that. But we have something that's similar enough to do a full disclosure, and so I'll do that. What is my relationship with this, which is the Site 43 CSS theme and hub? Excuse me. I don't like Site 43. Okay, I think that it is a hub for Looney Tunes tier zaniness that is designed to be zany very, very quickly. It basically is a sitcom without the laugh track. It's trying its hardest to will and summon a laugh track behind it. That's basically the gist of Site 43 for me. So, we'll see how this fits in with that. There is something to be said for doing that well. Like Dado, for example, you can do that well, and you can do that not well. So we will see. Yeah, and like I said, I've actually done this before. We're coming up to an hour on this take 2. So I'll probably cut it here. I hate to do this. Just trust me when I say we did read all of this, and it is exactly what I thought it would be, which is to say there is some skill in constructing the characters and how they play off one another. SCPC as a counterbalance to the just hyperbolic absurdity of A and B, but it just doesn't rise to the level. That's basically where the good things about it stop. The dialogue is ridiculously stupid. You have researchers being hit in the balls with an anomalous bowling ball. In the discovery, there's actually a logistical problem where the security guard summons the Foundation insider when there's no need for that. They could have just checked it out themselves, but they decided that they didn't want to do their job. And the Foundation agent, while they're investigating what the security guard should be doing, fortuitously it just so happened to come across an anomaly that they then got to document. So that kind of is all you need to know. I think this is a really, really poorly constructed article. So I wish we could go into it. The initial episode I did was about an hour and 30 minutes. So I thought I was very, very unimpressed with this article. And I hate it, but I just won't be able to go back and do the review and the reading that I did already once tonight for this article. So check it out if you want. I definitely think this article is inferior to the one we just read, and I would like to point out that it has a higher rating. So that right there is enough commentary and all you need to know on the community, the wider community of things. Currently at the SCP, deciding what is quality and what isn't. So, all right, that is it for tonight. Once again, this has been exhausting, and I gotten about halfway through this nice bottle of rosé, which I recommend very highly. But this is not a wine show. And we will do this again tomorrow night at 7:30. I hope the audio issues have been fixed. That, once again, is why we did this twice tonight. But I do appreciate who ever showed up both times. And I just have a lot of fun doing this, so I really appreciate it. And yeah, we will do it again tomorrow night. So thank you very much for joining. This is SCP-CRNP, also known as Lack of Lepers these days. And catch you later.